feeding close to us here. She's a bit curious, so she's just feeding around the base, closer to the vehicle. Partly because she is feeding, but partly also because she wants to see us, get a better look at us. There's that little one going past. We are going to look at it again just now, but for now, this female is just beautiful. Mature female, she's in her prime, just looking at the tusks, the ears, the size of her. And then when you get this close to them, when you sit at this distance and you can hear them chewing and hear them breathing and almost feel them, you do get a sense of the intelligence, the curiosity that's there. You do get a definite sense of presence and interaction. She's looking at us as much as we're looking at her. She's had a look and listen. We were talking about listening to them earlier. They listen to us as well, the sounds we make, and the tone of voice plays a big role, I found, with elephants when they're around you. There's the little guy. We will try and get a better look, but there's that young baby, weeks old. I was estimating earlier, I would say probably 4 to 6 weeks. I think that's pretty close, maybe even less. Maybe 2 to 4 weeks or 3 to 5 weeks. Maybe that's a better estimate range. Was a very lucky view for us as well, because they were coming through a little bit of a, not a clear, more open area. There they're going into thicker stuff again. Just going to move around slightly, get a better space. It seems I'd heard that we had meeting up earlier. It seems they've just, not split, but they're moving slightly separate from each other again. I can see the other herd more over towards the west or our right-hand side. But we're going to stick with this little guy, just because he's so little. Every day you get to see a baby that is that small, and within a herd that is this relaxed. You know, that's also a big part of the experience here. Allowing us to have a look at them and having a look at us in turn. Joined us for the drive, or maybe you've been away for a few minutes, just catching up again. Those lions from earlier, we had great lions early morning, we still have them, but they are what is traditionally referred to as flat cat. That's when they just lying down, not doing much. They might still be active, it's not that hot yet, but probably they'll stick around there for the day. HD is still with them. If any activity happens, we'll go back. But we're just following along this beautiful breeding herd. We just had a great moment when they all came past us, so not all of them, but about 7 or 8 of them, and we could see that young baby, that little calf that we saw earlier. I'm just moving around the side at the moment, try and get another place where we can sit and get a good view of them. But now they're grouping together a bit as well. It's almost as if they're picking up a bit of pace. Perhaps they want to head towards a waterhole. The matriarch would decide that. She's maybe decided it's time to get to where we can get a drink. Just hold on a second, let me just find our spot here. But I think just up ahead, just going to wait for somewhere where there's a little bit of an opening, like a bit of a clearing, and then we'll sit there and wait for them. Lovely herd, this. Our stations, Moontjie, Mhlambi and Dlorf, approaching Triple M, close to the Skovanin, north from Triple M Junction, just north of that Skovanin. All I'm doing there, I'm just going to do it again on another channel to let everyone know. All stations, Mhlambi and Dlorf, Moontjie, Mhlambi and Dlorf, heading towards Triple M, north of the first Skovanin, north of Triple M Junction, heading in a westerly direction. I'm just updating the Game Drive channels. Other vehicles like us that might be looking for a good sighting. This is brilliant, tiny little baby, so much to see. So I'm just letting them know on the radio, the same as they do for us as well when we find leopard together and help each other find different things. Look at that. Termite mound, bit of a clearing. I'm hoping they're all going to just walk right past us here. little bit of luck that we'll get that small one also coming past us. And of course these ones, these youngsters, they might do exactly what this one is doing. Yes, good morning. We see you. Now let me just get my bearings. Yes, I think if I have it correct, the little guy is in that group. Basically in that group there's a couple of small ones. Just keep an eye on them when they come through. That little one should be there. Let's see, here they come. Just getting my jacket off. It's getting very warm very quickly now. Look at the three musketeers. Hey guys. Okay, I thought that tiny one was in this group, but it seems not. Maybe it's still coming. I've lost visual of it for the moment. Oh, there in the back. We are going to get the treat, I think. Although everyone that comes past like this is a treat. Here's that big female again. Oh, sorry, I'm on the wrong side. Here we go. The little one. Look at that trunk. Daniel, you were asking earlier the length of an elephant's trunk. That one is about not much more than 1.5 feet, 2 foot long. Look how it's staying on the other side of the adult. Still a bit unbalanced. Oh, that's just stunning. That little guy will probably weigh, I'm trying to guess it now, I doubt even 100 kilograms yet. And I'm very tempted to make my estimate younger and younger. I'm more inclined to say sort of 3 weeks, 4 weeks. I don't think much more than a month. Just looking at the balance, it was still stepping in a little hole, then it almost sort of lost its footing. So still very new to the world, discovering other elephants, cousins and family members that come and greet you, and discovering that close-knit family unit. This little calf would have had interaction from all these elephants many times over the last many days. And then just discovering your environment. Sticks and branches and twigs and holes and water and mud, all these things to get used to. And then of course, to come back to the trunk that we spoke of earlier, that little elephant is so small it will still have to be learning how to use the trunk, how to coordinate the trunk better, how to move it better. The same as we have to learn. We have to learn how to use our hands, how to use our eyes, how to develop that coordination. The same for the elephant. Right, well these guys are coming up to one of the main roads, what we heard me on the radio just now, called Triple M. So I'm going to get onto the road and just wait for our last view as they're crossing there. It should be lovely. Look at this, look at this. Tiny little guy. Look at the pink in the ears there, guys. That's how thin the ears are still. You can actually see, just there I could see the sunlight coming through the ears. Look at that. Can you see right on the edges? That's how fresh this calf is, how new it is. Wow, this is awesome. Guys, that's looking straight back behind us. We don't normally try and get that angle, but this is just too good. He's like this big. Literally, he could stand on the dashboard here and be quite happy to stand there. He could sit next to me in the seat with us going for the drive. That's how small that little guy is. Oh. We've got another game drive vehicle. And everyone on the vehicle's got these big smiles on their faces. That's a good question, and a very caring question as well. The seal, you're asking if something happened to the mother of that baby elephant. There's the tracker you could see there from one of the lodges. If something was to happen with that baby elephant's mother, would the herd take care of it? The seal, and yes, would be the short answer of that. It would depend a little bit on conditions. This is the last. There's a few more coming up ahead as well. They're moving into a different area now that we can't keep following. But depending on the conditions, Lucille, if it was very tough conditions, really severe drought conditions, then that little one might have a very tough time. I know of cases where they essentially they can follow the herd, but the herd don't try and help them that much, purely because resources are scarce. So a female that is lactating would want to make sure that her calf makes it. But under many other circumstances, under normal circumstances, that calf would still have a chance of survival. Morning. Lekker oggend. There's the game drive. Game drive going past. As I said, I was sitting here, they were sitting just behind us, and that baby elephant crossed right behind their vehicle. And I think about two of those guests were in severe danger because their faces were about to split in half with the size of the smile they were having. It's just one of those things, you know, you see people out here from all over the world, like you guys, all over North America, South America. We've had people we had someone the other day from Fiji on the drive. I remember someone had from, was it Afghanistan once, and Pakistan, all over the world. Korea earlier. Herman, if you guys are still on drive with us. And no matter where you're from, when you're sitting out here and you're seeing something as pure and as beautiful as a tiny little baby elephant being protected by those around it, you cannot help but be happy. You cannot help but have a big smile on your face. And I must just shake my head because I just confused myself. We can actually follow those elephants. I was in traditional mode from my guiding days here. This is being one of the big boundaries, if you want, between different areas. But luckily we can drive in Area 2s as well. So we can stick with them a bit longer. Let's go have a look at what they get up to. The last Ellie just crossing into the bush again there. We're catching up with him after we've just had such a lovely experience with the little calf, the one that we've been following. And every time you can see him getting a bit more comfortable with us as well. And not so much him, he's still too small to really decide about that, but the adults supervising him, his mother, maybe his aunts, cousins, the guys that are looking after him, they're getting now comfortable with us as well, which is why the last view we had, he was actually in the open. Remember, if we saw him a little bit earlier next to that termite mound, he was hiding behind the adults. So we're going to stick with him a bit more. They're moving quite fast now, so the terrain is getting thick. If it gets a bit lush and we have to sort of bundu bash to keep up with him, I'm going to leave it. But let's just try one last look. Especially that little one, you know, it's such a pleasant experience. We've been following and going along with him. So that young elephant in his first few weeks of life, you know, it's important that he gets positive experiences with vehicles, like with all the wildlife here, because of the relationship between humans and the environment here. The fact that we coexist peacefully, if you want. The fact that, oh, there's one chasing another one, a bit of interaction there between the adults. The fact that we always, you know, aware of, or what's the right word, sensitive to the behavior of the animal, they learn that they can trust our behavior as well. Vice versa, we learn that we can trust them, and it's good to reinforce that with our behavior. So, long reason for why I might not follow them if it gets very thick, but at the moment, the only thing that's getting thick are the elephants around us. So let's go and sit in the middle of them. Unfortunately, where we are right now, my radio is breaking up a bit, so I'm not always hearing your question so clearly, Dylan, but I could hear the gist of it. It sounded like you're from Nepal, but I might be wrong. But Dylan, whoa, what's going on? There's a lot of upset behavior there from the Franklins. You could hear that sort of cackling in the background. Something really bothered those Franklins. Oh, Dylan, okay, it sounds like you're from Iowa. Sorry, I don't know how I heard Nepal through that, but two-way radios can be a funny thing sometimes. Dylan, you're just asking if matriarchal elephants sometimes would be challenged by other females. In other words, a senior female, would she go and stand up against the matriarch and challenge her? I'm sure that can happen, but it's not, as far as I know, not something that is common. You get bull elephant competing with each other, physically fighting sometimes, even severely fighting. But with matriarchs and elephants within the herd, I mean, this is quite a big female. She's definitely not the matriarch, but she's big enough that she could theoretically be looking after her own group. And normally, not always, but very often, when you've got a split of herds, so let's say the herd's getting too big, you're now getting to 30, 40 elephant, and depending on the habitat, maybe it's better to be smaller units. Quite often, that herd will split, and the female that becomes the new matriarch, the one that leads the herd, will very often be the female that was one of the eldest daughters of the matriarch, or one of the senior females or second in charge female of the herd. So you've got the matriarch, you've got second in charge, the herd gets too big, and second in charge, because she's been working with a matriarch, will split off and you'll get two different herds. Those herds very often will join again through the course of the day or through the course of the next weeks and months over time. As I said, they sort of move away a little bit and join together again into sort of larger herds. And that, as far as I know, from what I've seen over many years of looking at Ellies and what I've read and spoken to people that also love elephant, they worked it out amongst themselves. They're bright animals. There's no point for the matriarchs to fight with each other. Because they've been living together day to day, week to week, moment to moment for many years prior to sort of rearrangements of the breeding herds, if that makes sense, doesn't it? This is just so awesome. We are really just part of this herd now. And they're spread out all around us. Look at that. And I've just rolled up to 6 feet away from this female in front of us. And she just stood there and did a thing, moving along slowly now. In fact, I want to try and roll slightly forward again. It's actually nice. I normally prefer, if you have a bit of a gradient or a bit of a slope, it's lovely with elephant if you can just roll the car without the engine, because the engine provides a different type of noise than the movement of the car. Great when you stop as well. That rustling of the elephants moving along, the sound I described earlier. But also just bird calls, little songs and whistles. We all love the big animals, you know. I'll be the first to admit that. I love to sit with elephant herds. I love to sit with leopard. But just as they have their daily things to do, even the smallest things do as well. The little robin down in the riverbed that's singing his song to look for a mate, or the young birds that are growing up now after being hatched a few months ago in summertime. Everything has got its things to do for the day.